Guys, I think we're live. I hope we're live. I'm currently in Australia, Byron Bay, Australia. I'm really hoping we're live because it's hard to see from here what's actually happening, but let's just say live. And yeah, my name is Rupda. For some of you who know me already, hello. Great to see some of you out there. It's great. I love doing these lives, and I also love connecting with with the collective field out there and tuning in and checking in, and also talking about things that I'm passionate about. So, and in this particular video, I'm going to be talking about self-leadership, something that we all can use a little bit more of, and it's very connected to how we direct ourselves in our lives. So I want to talk a little bit about self-leadership as well as some of the foundational tools that have really helped me to step into that and meet that inner leader in myself. Yeah. So for just a quick summary to say to the people, my name is Rupda, and I do this work for many years, and I've been doing it around the globe. Of course, thanks to COVID, it's been a lot online these days, but I plan to come and continue on to Europe and beyond to connect with others. And I love doing the seminars in person. So, that's also such a lovely gift to connect in that way. And yet we have this lovely gift. Luckily, we can act in this way, which is beautiful because 20, 30 years ago, we wouldn't have this. So self-leadership in my world of growing up, as some of you might already know, I started out very young in this work. I'm in my mid-50s now. And already when I was a kid, I was able to sort of explore the territory of personal development through Tibetan Buddhism, which was, for me, life-changing in the mid-70s. And then not long after, just a couple of years after, I was with Osho. And some of you might know Osho. I mean, he's very much out there in the mainstream, and for some controversial and for some radical, because of course he was really out there with his way of talking about philosophy and how to approach personal development and how we turn inwards and examine ourselves. It was a lot about revolution inside, and then how that, of course, transforms the world around us. So that was my upbringing, and it's a wild story, too many years to go into, and but it's been 45 years of really passionate about this work, and my whole life has been dedicated to this particular kind of conscious way of living, and learning along the way what has worked, what has not worked, and of course, as anyone, the painful experiences that we have in being human, and in that developing tools that have been beautiful to my own life and supporting my life as well as supporting others. And that's why I love this work so much, because I can see how people start to change their lives and transform their life doing this kind of work. So let's talk a little bit about self-leadership. And I put together a little bit something. I'm not going to put it on the screen. I'll just talk a little bit about it. But I wanted to talk about the 5 foundational tools that really helped me in stepping in and meeting that inner leader within me. And I think it goes without saying that we can't really lead another until we are able to sort of lead this person, the individual within us. To be able to stand with someone and support them in their pain, for example, is a big deal. And if we're not willing to meet that pain in ourselves, we can only hold and contain so much with the other. And so I'm going to be on the periphery in comparison to really being able to stand there with someone. And that goes with anything. If we're not willing to be authentic and show up in our vulnerability, how can we ask the other to do the same for us? So there's something very much needed in stepping into meeting our own inner leader before we go out and lead others. I think that's a given, and I think people are slowly getting that, because what we see in the world where those are leading and they're not really stepping into attending to self and being conscientious of how they lead themselves, we can see how that translates in their way of leading. Often very much overlooking others, or dismissive or insensitive or bully-like behavior, or reckless, and or we have extreme leaders that we're seeing showing up today where they just don't care, where there is no connection. And that's obviously an extreme side of it. So I love the aspect about when we step into leading, about how you guide yourself. How do you self-guide? And that narrative that you do inside is so important, because when we lose the narrative to self-talk, we lose a lot of how essentially direct and move and bring ourselves to any particular circumstance. Sometimes we feel so disconnected or disassociated. How did I get here? Some people even say to me in the one-on-one coachings that I do, how did I set my life up the way it is today? I have no idea how I got here. And often there's such a disconnect between that, self-talk. And some of you know that self-talk as intuition, inner guidance, or let's say gut feeling, where you can sort of tune in a little bit and you sense, okay, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel good. Or you sense it in your body through sensations. So those things are very often very acute in a child, because they haven't been sort of inhibited or conditioned or dampened. We're very heightened, we're very perceptive children, because we're very open in many ways. Right? And so after time, we lose that sensory through seeking approval from others or from comparing with others, and losing sort of some deeper sense of trust in ourselves, as well as things that come along with that: stress, overwhelm, panic attacks, a disconnect, and extreme disconnects can turn into depression, where you just feel like the point of this life, and that often is a big disconnect between us and feeling any sort of sense of love, self-love, connection, and appreciation towards who this person is, the person within you. This is all very important, because this self-talk is often where it starts. Where we start to have these, are they self-talk where it goes to the what if I'm gonna fail? What if I'm not gonna succeed? What if this is gonna, mess everything up? What if they're gonna leave me? What if they don't like me? What if they think I'm stupid? That what if, can really be detrimental to our well-being and our mental health. And there's always that flip side in how we talk to ourselves with what if it does work out? What if it is remarkable? What if we have an amazing time? What if that person really does like us? Or what if it's okay to be with them? Howsoever it is, that difference in how we self-talk is so important, because it's very connected to how we self-guide. And how we self-guide is connected to how we self-soothe, calming our nervous system, self-regulating. So all of that inner narrative, that dialogue, and how to talk to yourself is super important, because that's going to translate in how you are with others and how you support others. Anyone who wants to learn leading others is going to learn a big one in self-leading. And it's something I do every day. Sometimes I start my morning going, okay, Rupda, how are you doing right now? What's happening right now? It's like a little inner check-in on what's happening internally. And if there's a little niggle of something, or there's a discomfort somewhere, I do a check-in. Okay, how is that? What is that? If I pull on this thread, where would that take me, for example? And what do I need? In many ways, self-leading is self-coaching. How do I attend to myself? And in it, in many ways, is a maturity, because I'm taking responsibility and accountability by self-leading, attending to self. So that dialogue, that narrative, and how you speak to yourself is really important. And I have an inquiry for one who's watching, whether it's live or later on. A lovely question to ask is, how do you guide yourself throughout your day? Are you gentle with yourself, kind to yourself, understanding, lenient? You know, or are you hard on yourself, or impatient on yourself, you know, or critical on yourself, or judgmental on yourself? You know? How do you know, self-guide throughout the day? It's a good question. And also, how do you guide yourself in supporting yourself? And this is also a really good question, because we all long for support. We all want support in certain areas of our life. Support is really helpful. Yes, we can all be independent and superheroes, and we need support as well. But how do you also support yourself? How does that look for you? Well, anytime we do an inquiry, let's call it a self-inquiry, and when you're watching know what that means. Essentially, it's when we sort of examine, okay, so how do I guide myself? Do I have any narrative with myself? Is there a total disconnect? Yeah, or I barely talk to myself. Oh, I'm really there present with myself, and so on. And how does that look? Are you patient with yourself? And a lot of people I work with in the seminars, you know, often that's one of the biggest ones, is they're impatient with themselves. And if you're impatient with yourself, you can imagine if you're working with individuals or, you know, groups of people or teams, you know, whatever environment, it's going to translate in how you're patient with them, for example. So all of that matters. You know, how you self-lead affects how you lead others. You know? So great inquiry. That's something you can, you know, play with today or tomorrow or whenever, but definitely worth your time. These are things that I adapt and continue to use in my daily life, you know, that exploration. And then the other one is learning how to be present. And learning how to be present in self-leading is so important. Who's there? You know, am I present even right now? You can kind of gauge yourself. Am I present right now? And if I am present, how much of me is present? Because sometimes we can be talking to someone, I don't know, whether it's at a lunch or in a dinner or in just a social circle, and they're sharing with you, they're saying something, and you hear them but don't hear them. Or sometimes you're driving from A to B, and you're driving but not driving. You know, kind of scary, but we go on to this sort of autopilot, and I know a lot of you know what I mean by that. So our level and our ability to be present is big, because when we can be present with ourselves, already that's a big one. If we can be present with what shows up, we can be present with uncomfortable feelings, we can hold presence with ourselves, we don't run away, we don't resist or fight it. It widens our capacity the more we can show up for our own feelings to be able to show up for others in the discomfort around us. You know? And that's why being present is such an important part of self-leading. Can I really be present? And also if you have a partner, you know, the partner will feel when you're present. We all feel when the other's present. We also feel when the other's not present. And they're, yeah, I'm listening. They're on the phone talking, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm here with you. No, I'm really listening. And that's what we see a lot today is people, you know, on their devices, you know, when they're sitting in a restaurant together. You know, they've arranged the whole, you know, evening to be together, and then they're on a device. You know? So presence is a big key. Why is it a big key? Because it is half of the work. Especially when you're supporting another person, and if you're present, that's half the work. Because often when we were young, we didn't have somebody who was really present for us. Maybe you might not have had a father or mother who was really present with you. I see you, I recognize you, I'm there for you, I hold you, I love you, and so on. You know, we had busy parents or absent parents, you know, or in some cases abusive. Yeah? So presence does half the work. A lot of the time, people's nervous systems just relax and they feel that you're present, and they have the space to talk, and finally they feel heard. So that's such a big part, presence. And it starts again with yourself, that presence. Am I present with myself when I'm uncomfortable, or I'm in discomfort, or I'm frustrated, things aren't working out, or I'm stressed or overwhelmed? You know? That all matters. How you are with yourself and how you're present with yourself. You know? So I'll move on to the next one. And actually the inquiry I do, by the way, is on presence before I forget, is what supports you to be present? What supports you to be present? So what methods, approaches do you adopt to help you to be present? And also to hold presence, yeah, not just for a moment. Okay, I'm present, okay, I'm done. You know, I'm present, and to hold presence. And then it's also nice to check out what, when do you lose presence? That's a nice inquiry to see, oh, I lose presence when, you know, someone raises their voice at me, or I lose presence when I'm just like, you know, feel like I need to be somewhere else and I'm late and I'm not really with that person, or I lose presence when I feel somebody is judging me, you know? Or I lose presence when I'm, you know, tired and exhausted, which is not uncommon, of course, right? And this is, again, when we do, anytime we do self-inquiry, it's not about judging ourselves. It's really about exploring, how do I do what I do so that I can learn how to do it differently. That's essentially what self-inquiry is about, you know, to discover ourselves in those things, those patterns, so that we can break cycles and break patterns, you know. And so what supports me to be present, for example, one of the big ones that often supports most people is to be in nature, to be out in my garden and just sit in nature and listen to the birds, look at the trees, and helps me to be present. Takes me away from all of the things, the busy bling, bling, bling around, the, you know, all the devices and things that pull us away, and I can learn in presence. So it's good to see what supports you to be present. The more present we are, the more we're able to focus and be there for another. It translates so beautifully, and you'll see it widens your capacity big time. Okay, I'll move along. So learning, another one, the third one, is learning how to be self-compassionate. And I can't emphasize self-compassion enough. You know, self-compassion, I wrote here actually, in many ways, it transforms the impossible to possible, the inconceivable to conceivable, the unthinkable to thinkable. When you are in the cauldron of compassion, it can transform all your perceived failures and mistakes into learnings and growth. That's what I wrote about self-compassion. And when I mean self-compassion, it's towards yourself. Often people can say, yeah, I can feel compassionate towards another, but compassion, self-compassion towards myself when I goof up, make a mistake and did something wrong, I feel I failed, I should have done it better, why did I do that, why did I say that, you know, why didn't I do that, why didn't I say that? And self-compassion comes in and softens that place of that internal dialogue that might have been hard on you, and softens it and says, it's okay, you're going to be okay. And brings you actually back to a very loving or kind space toward yourself, which we all need. We all need, because we're facing so many life challenges today, and it's really, for many people, so confronting, not only in our professional lives, but in our personal lives. And, you know, people we have loved and lost, especially. And that self-compassion helps us to kind of stay on our feet, that we're doing the best that we can, you know, not to be so hard on ourselves. And when we can learn self-compassion, yeah, towards yourself, true self-compassion, then of course that translates in how we lead others. So it's really important to take this one on. I can't emphasize it enough, because we're going to goof up. We're human. You know, we're going to make mistakes. That's going to happen. And how we recover from that is the most, you know, important thing, because it brings us back up. You know, if we collapse and, oh, I goofed up, I screwed up, I'm no good, I'm not good enough, it keeps us down there. But self-compassion can bring us back into I am enough. Or self-compassion can bring us back into I have what it takes. Or self-compassion can bring us to forgiveness. And self-compassion can bring us back into ourselves, so that we're not like feeling defeated or deficient, which is important, especially if we want to be there for others. Because sometimes I'm in a room with hundreds of people, and I might have gotten somebody's name wrong in the audience, you know, and they go, oh, sorry, you know. Now if I collapse in that and go, gosh, it was so important for them, you know, that I got their name right, but I didn't, let's say, yeah, for example, And then if I start going, oh, I'm so hard on myself inside, then I will sort of lose my ground, lose my presence, and lose my ability to be there. But if self-compassion can immediately come in, it's okay, Rupda. You know, this is a new moment, a new possibility, and you have the possibility to always correct it, or you have the possibility to always forgive yourself. You have the possibility to always bounce back. And so that I don't get stuck in that hole of defeated, being defeated. It's very important. And that really helps when you're self-compassionate to be compassionate towards others. So the inquiry I wrote around this is, where do you recognize self-compassion in your life today? And it's good to really write about this or reflect about it. Does it show up occasionally? Is it circumstantial only when, others give you the okay that, you weren't that bad? Then you can be self-compassionate. Is it conditional only when, months or years later, when you look back on the incident, oh, now I can be self-compassionate? And what stops you from being self-compassionate? For example, what are the 3 things you do to give yourself permission to be self-compassionate? What could be those 3 things? So I could say, take time and space for myself to reflect, create meaningful affirmations, self-coach, and remind myself that I learned from these experiences and I will be okay, for example. So it's a great inquiry if you have the chance to do it at some point, just because it helps you really recover and repair. And actually, the more we, apply self-compassion, the less harder we are on ourselves, the less harder we are on those we love, and especially those we leave. Okay, so we move on to the next one. Next one I wrote around barriers. And the barriers are a good one. What are the barriers between you and stepping into any kind of leading? And there's, I believe there's a leader in all of us because we self-lead, and that's the first one right there. But for those watching, you say, yeah, I want to support others. I want to give back. So what is the barrier between you and, let's say, leading or supporting another, or caring for another, or attending to another? Or stepping into your full power, and however that might look for you. What is that barrier? So, and for many people, and this is what I love about when we step into leading, because stepping into leading in many ways is stepping into your confidence, stepping into your trust that I have what it takes, or stepping into your power. And we all have that, different barriers of beliefs that hold us back from really claiming and being our full potential. So what is yours? What holds you back in life and in that? And by the way, I want to say something about power, because I had a very distorted perception of power growing up, thinking that, power was abusive, because my upbringing, in some parts of my upbringing, especially in boarding school, I went to boarding school when I was 5, and this was in the early 70s, and I saw things, was not good to see as a 5-year-old girl. And I saw a misuse of that power and fear around that power, a lot of fear. So for me to really step into my power was impossible, because I had to first confront the shadow side of the power. And when I was able to do that, then I was able to see that there's also a healthy power. It's not power over someone, but it's in power. To be able to empower myself to speak up, to use my voice, and to know that I have permission to be here, I have a right to be here, I have my place and space on planet Earth, and not to duck and play small and hold myself back, and serving no one in the end. So those barriers of belief, particularly around stepping into your confidence, stepping into your trust, stepping into your power, and believing in yourself, those things are really important to look at, because they inhibit you. In many ways, they dim your lights, they hold back your potential. And we have such a short time on this planet. Why not? Let's explore what holds me back from where, am I held back? And let's explore that, so that you don't live sort of a half part of your life, never actually getting expressed or experienced. So the exploration I did on that is, what are the barriers between you and stepping into leading? Or you could say stepping into your confidence, or stepping into supporting another, or being for another. And by the way, leading shows up in your corporate environment, your nonprofit environment, in hospitals or hospitality, in all sorts of areas we lead, in courses as well as in women's circles and with children, and the infinite amount of ways that we can step into our confidence or our power and lead and support another. So what are the barriers between you and stepping into leading? Is it fear? Is it doubt? Is it insecurity? Is it criticism? Is it high expectations? Is it not believing in yourself? Is it lack of confidence or lack of self-worth? Lack of knowledge or where to start? And if you were to step into leading, what would it look like? And I love that exploration. If I really was to step into it, what would it look like? How might you support others while still supporting yourself? And you can really be creative with this, because if I was really going to look at that, what I would really love to step into and really like, how was that really going to show up? Then I really let myself paint a bigger picture. Why not? And often it comes very passionate from my heart, because there's a beautiful intention there. How can I support another while supporting myself? Of course, I always include myself in leading. The moment I take myself away from it, then I miss so much of my own self-growth in it, because I'm always learning and I'm always growing. That's the beauty in self-leading. So, nice inquiry. How would it look if I was to step into leading? If I was to take away that barrier and let myself, go for it. No holds back. Okay, and the final one is around remembering self-recognition. In the journey of this self-leadership, it's also important to self-recognize and not waiting for others to validate us and give us the approval, especially from those we seek approval from or seek love from, that we put in high regard. To honor what we have and recognize it in ourselves. That self-recognition, I have what it takes. And how that might look for you. It could be just a simple act of kindness towards yourself. Whether it's waking up in the morning in the mirror and making some funny faces and saying, hey, I appreciate you. And even that can, open up a warmth inside of you and make you feel good. Because yes, we love recognition from others. Yes, we love approval from others. Yes, we love love from others. Who doesn't? It's connected to being seen. And being seen is connected to something that we have since our birth. To be seen from mother, to be seen from father. It's all there. It's not about making you wrong for that. It is, though, however, important that we give that self-recognition, that we say yes. Because when those days happen where you're not being seen, or maybe somebody is not appreciated or upset or whatever it is, how the ground can get shaky in that. There's a recognition that I am okay. Even if this is a challenging situation, I will be okay. Or I recognize that I will recover from this. Or I recognize that I have a lot to offer in this. I have a lot to learn in this. Anything around self-recognition is important, because we all have something to recognize in ourselves. But I believe that it's not possible. I believe we all have it. So that it's also professional and personal. The inquiry around that is, what qualities do I recognize in myself? That's a great inquiry. I have courage, I have a big, bountiful heart, or I have a lot to give, or a lot to offer, or I'm loyal, I'm committed, I'm determined, I'm passionate, I'm honest, I'm creative. So that, really that you give that self-recognition of what you have and really write it down. I have to give that to myself. It's connected also to gratitude. So I can appreciate, the moment I go into appreciation, I can go into thank you. Even if I have a challenging day, I end my day with gratitude. And there's usually a time and part right there where I'm giving some self-recognition that you did okay. you know? Even if that part says, oh, I could have done better. But hey, you did okay. Just to give yourself some recognition. And it's so important because we're not then seeking outwardly for validation, and we don't get caught in that trap of, where we start to bend our lives towards another, which a lot of people do today, to the point where they're doing it externally, cosmetically, where they almost, abandon their true self to give an image of another self, which is very painful because it will never meet that mark. It's always going to be something more that they need to do to be enough. So the self-recognition supports the I am enough. I see you, Rupda, and you give that to yourself. Really important to help ground you and also balance you in yourself. And also it's just a lovely way to work from, supporting others. This is, of course, we then start to feel some self-confidence in that too. I am enough. So just to conclude, I know some people are asking me about the upcoming self-leadership online course. It's live, not happening this weekend, but next weekend on the 27th, I think 25th, 26th, 27th. It's on Rupda.com, somewhere I link here. And I wanted to let people know that if you want to jump in and join us, we have a 20% off promo code. So you would put I think the promo code is in this link video somewhere, but it's LTLM 2022. LTLM 2022. I would love to see you guys there. Anyone who has a calling to work with this particular piece around self-leadership. We will do inquiry work, we will do meditations, we will do some teachings. It's a lot of fun because it's live and it's with people, and the exploration is both educational and of course experiential. So we have a nice embodied experience of the work. It's 3 days and the times are on the page somewhere, so you can find out about it. And it's a great, I've lowered all the prices because of COVID, so it's a great price plus the discount. So it would be lovely to have you there, especially if you want to step more into this for yourself, and also if you're interested for others. Great, would love to see you. So beauties, I have a quote that I wrote. I wrote this quote a few years ago, and I just want to say, just a short quote: self-leadership is the behind-the-scenes homework that prepares you for being a transformational leader. So it's so essential to have that self-leadership in yourself. Even if you don't plan on going out and leading others, you're just leading the household with your kids and so on. It doesn't have to be some big job that you're about to go for in yourself. We all need those qualities in yourself because we meet ourselves in a wider capacity. And of course, it's beneficial not only for ourselves, but everyone we are, of course, connected to. So it was so lovely to be with you guys. I think my time's up, or we're a few minutes over. So it's a good place to stop. And I just want to say thank you to those who watched and who are going to watch. Lovely, love this work. I'm passionate about this work, and I hope that you meet your inner leader and have a good dance for me. Thank you for watching, beauties. Until next time.